Alright guys, so Wednesday was a total shit show for Microsoft as they laid off 9,000 employees across their entire company. Sales, marketing, and the Xbox gaming division got hit pretty hard. Let's sit back and break it all down. Let's get into it. So first off, Microsoft laid off approximately 830 employees in its official offices in Redmond, Washington in unspecified departments. From what I'm reading, the bulk of these layoffs come from the Microsoft Customer and Partner Solutions, or MCAPS division, which include the global sales organization, which was heavily impacted. There's reports suggesting that 6,000 of the 9,000 layoffs came from this group alone, primarily targeting salespeople and sales operations staff. So what MCAPS does is work with customers and partners of all sizes to help them utilize Microsoft's technology effectively. So I guess they help companies implement Microsoft's technology into their business structure and operations. So that division seems to be hit the hardest, and after reading about these layoffs, I can see why this division was affected the most. And I'll talk about that more towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. Now, the real focus of these layoffs in the media and all across social media was Xbox. Thousands of employees got laid off and studios were shut down.
We had the initiative, which opened back in 2018 and for some reason was partnering with Crystal Dynamics on a reboot of the Perfect Dark series. While the game has been canceled and the studio has been shut down. And to add insult to injury, the gameplay demo we saw back in 2023, I believe, was just a vertical slice, aka a tech demo, and not indicative of actual gameplay, so it was all fake. Everwild, developed by Rare, this action-adventure game announced back in 2018 and was in development for nearly a decade, was canceled. Sources cited a troubled development cycle, including a reboot and leadership change as contributing factors to the cancellation. It was also reported the game was rebooted back in 2021. Along with the game's cancellation, Greg Miles, who has been with Rare since 1989 and was a designer for Donkey Kong Country and one of the creators of Banjo-Kazooie, has left the company after it was announced that Everwild was canceled. He was the creative director of the game. ZeniMax Online Studios, makers of ESO, aka The Elder Scrolls Online, had an MMORPG codenamed Blackbird in development since 2018. The game has been canceled. We don't have any details of the game itself either. ZeniMax Online also suffered layoffs in its marketing department, and ZeniMax Online Studios president Matt Farvar, I believe I'm saying that right, announced that after 18 years with the company, he will be leaving the studio. He put out a statement saying, "After more than 18 years leading ZeniMax Online Studios, I will be stepping away later this month. The studio and the Elder Scrolls Online will be in great hands under the direction of new studio head Joe Burba, along with executive producer Susan Cath and game director Rich Lambert. Together, this leadership team has spearheaded many of the Elder Scrolls Online's biggest ideas and expansions and will continue to make this game something we're all proud of. While I won't be working on the game anymore, I will be cheering you on and adding to the thousands of hours I've already spent in game. There are many stories to be told, adventures to be had, and I know this amazing community will carry that shared legacy and success forwards. Thank you, Matt." We also learned that King, the makers of Candy Crush, which I had no idea was based in Barcelona, the company's laid off approximately 10% of its staff, equating to about 200 jobs. Turn 10 Studios, the developers of Forza Motorsport, reportedly lost nearly 50% of its staff, though the exact number of infected employees is unclear. I've got a bad feeling about this company too, because Xbox made Forza games to compete with PlayStation's Gran Turismo games, and now that Xbox is putting all their games on PlayStation, is there really need for this kind of game anymore? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Raven Software, a Call of Duty co-developer involved in the Black Ops series of games, is also affected, although the scale of the cuts is unknown. Sledgehammer Games, another Call of Duty studio that worked on COD games like COD World War II and Advanced Warfare, also faced layoffs as well. High Moon Studios, which Activision acquired back in 2008 to help with the development of Call of Duty games, has also been impacted by the cuts. We also saw that up to 100 employees at Blizzard were affected, with some reassigned to other roles and others let go. The layoffs impacted departments like marketing and customer service. Warcraft Rumble, Blizzard announced that this mobile tower defense game will receive no further content updates, entering a live ops only phase with ongoing support limited to systematic events and bug fixes. Halo Studios, formerly 343 Industries, the team working on upcoming Halo titles, was affected. We saw about 5 people were laid off, but honestly, who cares? Halo is a dead franchise and the studio is run by a bunch of DEI activist weirdos. The Xbox user research team, significant cuts were reported, including the head of product for family and child safety, Mike Mongo. Romero Games, the studio led by John and Brenda Romero, had an unspecified project canceled, believed to be funded by Microsoft. Apparently, according to an employee on LinkedIn, with Microsoft pulling its funding, the entire studio will be closed down. There is speculation that Avalanche Studios' game Contraband, which is set in the 1970s, is a cooperative smuggling game that was announced back in 2021. It may have been canceled as the trailer was removed from Xbox's official YouTube channel, but confirmation is pending. We don't know yet. Phil Spencer also put out it leaked. It was an internal email to employees at Xbox about everything that's going on. It's a long read. I won't read it all to you, so I'll have it linked below in the description if you want to check it out. All right, guys, I think I covered all these studio closures and layoffs affecting Microsoft and Xbox right now. A lot was going on with these layoffs, so please let me know if I missed anything in the comments below. Now, the economy is booming. Inflation has plummeted. Microsoft is not hurting at all as a company. They're actually doing incredibly well right now. Their stock is almost up 20% year to date. So why all these cuts? You can probably guess it. It's the big giant buzzword going throughout all the giant tech companies right now. AI. Yep. artificial intelligence. Microsoft is investing heavily into AI. I believe they are investing $80 billion into AI infrastructure. In order to free up some capital for this investment, they're cutting jobs across the entire company, streamlining jobs and replacing some of these positions with AI. And we're also hearing that employees working at Microsoft have been mandated to use AI in their day-to-day operations while working at the company. And then another scumbag move, after laying off 9,000 people, Microsoft is reportedly applying for H-1B visas for 14,000 Indian workers. After hearing all this about Microsoft, I immediately canceled my Game Pass subscription. I will not be going back to it. Now, how did Xbox end up in this horrible position? We gotta remember that Xbox was always a small part of Microsoft. They're always kind of off in the corner doing their own thing and never really on Microsoft's radar. And after the failure of the Xbox One, Phil was still trying to play the same game as PlayStation with releasing powerful hardware, i.e. the Xbox Series X, and putting big exclusives on it. And they had Game Pass to bring more audiences to the Xbox platform, which was working out great at the time. They then bought Bethesda for $7 billion, which I think they could have gotten away with by keeping all Bethesda games as Xbox exclusives, and it would have worked out fine. But everything changed when they bought ABK for $68 billion. Like I said a little bit ago, Xbox was always off in the corner doing its own thing, and Microsoft really didn't pay attention to it, and they really weren't a big expense for the company. But after spending $68 billion on ABK, which is the most amount of money Microsoft has ever spent on an acquisition, that put Xbox front and center of the company. Now, after the deal was done, I can guarantee you that the bean counters from Microsoft went over to Phil and said, listen, we let you spend $68 billion on this acquisition. How are you going to make this money back plus profit in this certain time frame? And the plan to most likely do that was put all of Activision Blizzard's IPs into Game Pass, and hopefully that would send Game Pass subscriptions skyrocketing. While it drove Game Pass subscriptions up, I don't think it hit the numbers they were looking for, and this probably did not please the bean counters at all. Also, a lot of the studios Microsoft acquired in the acquisition had a ton of bloat from all the hires back in 2020. A lot of them are DEI activists and Karens, but Microsoft is all in on DEI stuff, so maybe they'll end up keeping them and getting rid of the actual good talent and keep having their games perform poorly. And Microsoft has basically told us they went out of the hardware business. I mean, they barely, if at all, market their consoles anymore. And now they have this brilliant idea to actually raise the price of the console. So now the base Xbox Series X costs $600 compared to its competition, the base disc version of the PS5, which starts at $500. And you can play all Xbox games on a PS5. So why would you ever buy an Xbox again? And now we see that they're partnering with ROG to make an Xbox skin ROG Ally and Meta to make an Xbox skin VR headset. It's clear Microsoft wants to get out of the console business. And yes, I know they inked that deal with AMD to make the next Xbox. The deal was probably made years ago. PlayStation also inked a deal with AMD to help develop the PS6. So for Xbox to cancel that deal now will be stupid and probably cost them so much money to avoid it. So they'll probably come out with this new console and it probably won't sell and most likely will be their last console. In my opinion, in order for Xbox to survive the way they're going now is to give up on Game Pass and consoles and go all in on being a third-party publisher. They have some of the biggest IPs in the world and are just cannibalizing their sales by putting them into Game Pass. Maybe keep Game Pass, but just keep it as a smaller thing, put like indies in it, maybe AA games into it, and go back to the traditional way of just selling games to your customers. Xbox has basically trained its customers to not buy games because they expect every game that comes out on that platform to be in Game Pass. I remember not that long ago, they just announced that Final Fantasy 17 was coming to Xbox finally, and people were pissed it wasn't a Game Pass game. I believe this is the most effective way for them to survive as a company, but what do you guys think they should do? Let me know in the comments below.
Alright guys, I know this was a long one, but this was a huge story to cover, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, drop an X in the comments below. Let me know you made it this far, and I'll give it a like. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing as well. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one. Until next time, happy 4th of July. Take care. Goodbye.